Coming up on this Monday edition of Philadelphia 76ers Now, we're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey's star performance against the Indiana Pacers, lifting the squad to a big victory in overtime. Could Philadelphia be interested in Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors? And could the Sixers make a move for a former Sixer? Before we take a look at all of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button here on 76ers Now. During the month of October, 76ers Now in 5th place for the most subscribers picked up since the turn of the calendar month. We could change that with this video alone. If you want Sixers coverage every single day, year-round, be sure to hit that subscribe button right now. As for Tyrese Maxey, that was a star performance. Maxey against the Pacers on Sunday. A lot of people probably didn't understand what he was doing because of the NFL slate being loaded. But if you did watch that game, you saw it. If you didn't, let's talk about it. Carrying the Sixers to their first win of the year. And it was great to see him have this performance after 2 bad games to start the year. 48 minutes against the Pacers in that overtime game. He took 32 shots, 14 of 32, 5 of 17 from 3, still looking for that efficiency from long range, but 45 big ones, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Some of these Maxey stats are insane. And when Paul George, Joel Embiid were not going to play in the first game, then we knew that was going to extend beyond that. This Sixers road trip, I had told you, Maxey is going to take 30 to 40 shots. That's exactly what we've seen. Why? Because the Sixers need it. And how about this? Sixers stats. Most points by a Sixers player in the second half and overtime in the play-by-play era since 97-98. Tyrese Maxey with 38 on Sunday. Tyrese Maxey with 38 back in April of this year. And number 3, guard from Georgetown, Allen Iverson, all the way back in 2002. And when you watch Maxey, he's a little bit smaller like AI, but he's a warrior. He has this relentless motor. Different players, but it gives you some glimpses of Allen Iverson with the quickness that he has. And then ball his life with another one. Third quarter, Maxey had 14 of his team's final 18 points. In the fourth, 14 of his team's 26 points. And in overtime, 10 of the team's 13 points. The first half, he was cold once again. You're thinking, Maxey, not a good start to the year. Now he's calmed our nerves a little bit. Finishes with 45. And it's the second time that he scored 38-plus in a second half in overtime. Kobe Bryant, 81 points. You better look out. Tyrese Maxey, 86 field goal attempts on the year, the most through 3 games in 76ers franchise history. And then Basketball Reference with this, that Tyrese Maxey has 4 games of 45-plus points, the most by a Sixer, before turning 24 years old. Now, the efficiency obviously has not been there, but NBA points per game leaders, this isn't sustainable because they're going to get Joel Embiid and Paul George back. But Maxey, in 3 games, 31.3 points per game behind LaMelo, Tatum, AD, and Luka Doncic. And the field goal numbers are going to have to get better because he's under 35% from the field, under 24% from 3. Part of the reason why he's become the player that he has is because of his efficiency. But here's a glass half full approach. I think the efficiency will only get better with Embiid and Paul George because he's going to get a lot more open looks, and those players are going to get a lot of attention here once they do come back. And so to round out my thoughts, what Tyrese Maxey did against the Indiana Pacers on Sunday is what Tyrese Maxey is capable of, and that's what he has to do living up to the max contract when Joel Embiid and Paul George are out. That was the type of star performance that he's capable of having, and that's why he gets paid a max contract, because he has the makings of a franchise player. We saw in the first round series against the New York Knicks, he's capable of carrying this team. And with the Sixers desperate for a dub, not wanting to move to 0-3 to start the year because the vibes would be bad, he put the team on his shoulders, and he lifted Philadelphia to a marquee win against a very formidable opponent, which made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And so let's get this duo back on the court. Embiid, Maxey, and obviously get Paul George back into the equation as well. Because when all three of them are on the floor, this Philadelphia team, I think that they can do some serious damage here in the East and across the NBA. So, Chip, we were watching that Sixers game, and you're thinking they haven't won at the end of regulation. Tyrese Halliburton hits that weird three, and you're like, are they going to lose again? Tyrese Maxey said, not on my watch.
It was really special to watch and just see him take over because, he had talked about it the first couple of games. He just wasn't playing like himself. He was pressing a little bit. There's really nobody else in the team outside of Kelly Oubre's had a couple good games creating shots for himself. Eric Gordon finally had a good game. Caleb Martin's been solid, but there's really nobody else to create their own shots and create for others right now. Things you hope, obviously, Embiid and Paul George can do when they're back.
Yep.
But Maxey's had to do absolutely everything for this team. And look, it's just hard to do that as a small guard in this league, especially when you're not getting some of the foul calls that you should be getting. Now, he got a few more calls in this game, but I still think he doesn't have the whistle that he should have for the amount of times he's really getting fouled. Look, this game, it was weird. It was wonky. There was a weird, shot clock violation debate, something that happened at the end of regulation where Indiana put up an air ball that they then caught their own rebound. The shot clock should not have reset, but it did. They reviewed it, and then they somehow gave the Pacers even more time. Nick Nurse got a technical for it because he was pissed. Of course, Halliburton hits that crazy, crazy shot. But to see Maxey finally have this type of, at least second half, where he completely took over. He was hitting step-back threes. He was getting to mid-range, attacking the paint. I mean, he wasn't scared of Miles Turner at all. He was a great shot blocker in this league. And whoever was guarding him, whether it was T.J. McConnell at some points, who's a really good defender, Tyrese Halliburton, it was all barbecue chicken for Maxey. So hopefully we get Paul George back on Wednesday. Who knows when Embiid gets back? I'm sure we'll find out more about that soon. But just to see him have this kind of performance, especially after those two rough games, it just solidifies to me that he is one of the best point guards and one of the best players in this league.
Yeah, and I think that game can do a lot for Maxey's confidence because I think the confidence in the first two games was lacking a little bit. All right, fill in the blank. Tyrese Maxey, a top blank point guard in the NBA. Sound off with what you think about that and let us know down in the comment section right now. And still to come, we're only ramping up here. Sixers, are they interested in Jonathan Kuminga, and could a former Sixer come back to the city of brotherly love? That's coming up on the other side. But first, today's 76ers now, sponsored by our friends at DraftKings, a brand new sponsor on board here on 76ers Now, and an incredible sponsor. You want to know how you can support the show? Sign up using the code SixersChat. You bet $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Here's how you can make it happen. The NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets that you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And here are some of Chip's NBA picks. Milwaukee plus 9.5 against Boston. Toronto plus 9 against Denver. San Antonio Spurs money line against Houston. And then New York Knicks minus 2.5 against Cleveland. Download DraftKings, promo code SixersChat. Could the 76ers trade for Jonathan Kuminga? According to Bleacher Report's Jake Fischer, the Sixers are a potential suitor. in a Kuminga trade. Here's what he had to report the other day. I am not reporting that the Sixers are definitely trying to turn KJ Martin's contract into Jonathan Kuminga, but if you're looking at options, if you're someone who's advising Kuminga, or if you're Kuminga himself and trying to think about who could be a potential suitor for you to reward you with that near max money next year, the Sixers have definitely indicated around the league and behind the scenes that they're willing to pay and add in another piece. Right now, they're willing to spend their draft capital. They've got 3+ first-round picks. They have the super interesting 2028 unprotected Clippers pick that continues to be more interesting with Kawhi Leonard's knee issues. But just keep Philadelphia in mind for looking at guys like Kuminga who are on rookie deals or potentially up for a big payday. So I guess not really a specific report, but more of Fischer saying keep an eye on him. The 2024-2025 salaries, Kuminga up for a contract extension, $7.5 million for him. KJ Martin, 7.9. And so that is the type of salary swap for salary swap that we've been talking about a lot with KJ Martin. Now, the Warriors and Kuminga failed to reach an agreement on an extension. He will be a restricted free agent this summer, and if Golden State doesn't want to pay him, it could make sense for them to trade him. And so this is a player, as we approach that February deadline, to really keep tabs on. I don't think he's fully rounded into the player that he's capable of being, but sometimes he can be a little bit frustrating with his lack of offensive game and defensive lapses. For the physicality that he's able to bring to the floor, you have seen some growth where last year, 16 points per game. This year, off to a little bit of a slow start, and this isn't good for a player who wants to get paid. 8 points per game, 3+ rebounds, 33% from the field, and just 11.1% from three-point range. We have seen a better player in there for Jonathan Kuminga, but again, he's going to have to get better, and where he has to improve, the outside jump shot has to be more consistent. His shots creation ability, sometimes the handle can get a little bit loose. His on-ball defense, he just has lapses there. And then the glass cleaning frequency. For his size and athleticism, should be able to rebound the basketball a little bit better. So if you're the Sixers, you need to determine if Kuminga is worth paying big-time money to before you make a move. Because if you trade for him, I don't think he's going to be a rental. And I'm not sure I'd want to pay Jonathan Kuminga $25 to $30 million. So with that, let's round out the conversation with this. Should the Philadelphia 76ers trade for Jonathan Kuminga? He's been called a player that Philadelphia might be keeping tabs on as we approach the NBA trade deadline, and his salary very similar to KJ Martin if the Sixers want to go salary for salary swap. I've always been intrigued by Kuminga since he was drafted out of the G League a few years ago. Big athlete who can be an elite defender, but he hasn't been consistent enough on that side of the floor. Offensively, he needs to get better with this outside shot. The problem for Philadelphia, if you acquire him, he's going to be looking for an extension of $20 to $30 million, and I'm not sure he's worth that. So while he's versatile and he's an intriguing athlete, and I think that he can become really good on both ends of the floor, and we've seen some growth, I think there are reasons why a smart organization like the Warriors ended up not paying him. So, Chip, what do you think about Kuminga here? Interesting name.
Yeah, interesting name and interesting player. I think the type of player he could be would fit very well into what the Sixers could use. He could slide right in there to that 3-4 position next to Paul George. I think he'd be a great complementary piece to really round out the starting lineup, especially if he continues to show improvement. But here's my issue with this is the Warriors, as you said, they're a smart organization, right? They run their business well. They obviously have had a lot of success over the past decade in the NBA. They're not going to give up Kuminga for pennies on the dollar, right? If he continues to struggle, as he has struggled to start this season, why would I want to trade for him from the Sixers?
Yep.
I'm not going to give up KJ Martin, and then you're obviously going to have to give up picks as well for a player in Kuminga who, if he's been struggling, you know, is he really going to be that difference maker for you to win an NBA championship this season? And then if he continues to struggle, you're going to have to pay him or just lose him for nothing? And then you gave up draft picks for half a season of a player that didn't do anything for you? That's one scenario where he struggles and they're looking to trade him. But if he plays well and he starts to blossom and develop into that player that the Warriors kind of envisioned he could be when they picked him so high in the draft, why would they want to trade him, right? That's the only scenario I could see like the Sixers would want him, is if he's showing out and playing well. But then why wouldn't the Warriors just want to keep him at that point either? Or if they want to trade him, maybe try to get, a higher caliber player, use him as trade bait to improve their roster. I don't really think that they would necessarily be trying to move him for picks. Obviously, we'll see as things near the trade deadline. Still so far away from that right now. But players like Kuminga, again, that are on their rookie deals, going to be up for extensions this offseason, are going to be guys the Sixers look at because they're going to trade KJ Martin. It's just a matter of when and who they get in return for him.
And one more trade rumor that we want to talk about is Philadelphia bringing back a former Sixer. And I'm just not sure why this would make sense. Now, stay tuned for that. Do want to ask you this question, though. Should the 76ers trade for Jonathan Kuminga, T for trade, or P for pass? As for that former 76er, a PJ Tucker reunion, the Athletic's Kelly Iko reported that the Sixers have had trade talks surrounding PJ Tucker, who isn't in the rotation for the Los Angeles Clippers and hasn't been really since that James Harden trade last year, which, by the way, seems like forever ago. Kelly with this: a number of contenders, including the 76ers, Heat, Bucks, and Suns, have held trade conversations for PJ Tucker's representation, and the 14-year veteran remains away from the Clippers, so he's not just not in the rotation. He's away from the team, and he's hopeful for a solution. Now, we saw 2 years ago that he was kind of that glue guy for Philadelphia. He brought some mental toughness. He was one of the only players who showed up in that Game 7 loss on the road against the Boston Celtics. And last year, he barely played. 31 games total. He wasn't hurt. 1.7 points per game. I guess, Chip, it gives you some size at power forward, but, is he a complete cooked product at this point? That was kind of the risk when the Sixers signed him to that $10 million per year deal, and he doesn't really give you anything offensively. Defensively, if he's lost a step, that kind of hurts you. So would you bring him back?
No, I'm in agreement with you. I don't want PJ Tucker back on this team at this point. I don't think he can really play anymore. All he would really give you is, veteran toughness. Maybe he still has it on the defensive end of the floor, but even when he was in the Sixers, I didn't think he was all that great, really. There's a lot of Sixers fans I know saw this and they're like, no, I don't want him back. The Sixers don't have a whole lot of trade assets left. You probably wouldn't be giving up much for him anyways, but why are you using it on PJ Tucker? Honestly, I'd rather just play guys like KJ Martin and Ricky Council and Kayla Martin, these guys off the bench, Gershon Yabusele, than try to go bring in a PJ Tucker. Yeah. There's other guys to use these picks for and to use these salaries for. PJ Tucker, great career, of course, great player once upon a time, but that ship has sailed. I don't want him back on this team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't see why it would make sense. And plus, you and I have talked about Gershon Yabusele. That's the player who I want to see having a continued role as a power forward or a backup five. Do you want to see PJ Tucker back on the Sixers? I have a feeling a lot of people are going to say no, but let us know down in the comment section.